father always told me that you should do what you want to do, and give it a good crack at it. Even if you fail, it's always good. There's always meanings behind things. And
welcome to the DOOR Osaka YouTube channel. This is our ongoing series, OMIAI Dialogue, where we have two guests that we think would have a quite interesting conversation, usually if they are in related fields. So previously we've had a couple of translators from various languages. This will be our first time having two people from the more art side of the creative sphere, Benedict Yu and Chris Gibson. And so I'll have Ben get started with an introduction from his side.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. So hi, everyone. To the audience, but also to the both of you on Google Meet. So I'm Benedict. My last name is Yu, and I am half Singaporean, half Taiwanese. I'm a VR artist, but the word VR, it's a different kind of VR. So usually people would think that it's called virtual reality. So I call myself as visceral reality artist, and I'm currently based in Singapore. And I was trained as a painter with oil painting, but now I have slowly emerged into using VR headsets like Meta headsets and also Apple Vision Pro as a device for me to create my artworks in 3D spaces. So I directly paint in 3-dimensional spaces instead of on a screen or on a canvas or on a 2D surface. So that's what I do. And I have been doing art since about 10 years ago when I started studying. So now I have been involved in like multiple projects from Singapore back to Taiwan. And then I have this really great opportunity and honor to have the upcoming presentation for the SCP that is coming up soon on October 11th. So I'm really excited to go back to Osaka and to present my VR artworks in collaboration with Akio-san.
Yeah, thank you. And then
cool.
Chris,
Thanks.
pass it to you.
Hi everyone. I'm Chris. I also call myself as Horigo. I work at Bunshun Tattoo Studio, Sydney. I practice tattooing. I don't know. I've been tattooing for about 20 years. At the moment, I juggle 2 studios, one in Sydney, one in Osaka. My background, my heritage, I'm half Australian, quarter Japanese and quarter Korean. I'm about 45 now, and that's about it, I guess. Yeah,
You're looking good for 45. All right.
Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Okay, and then I guess I'll get the ball rolling. So how did both of you end up deciding to get into art rather than any other field? Or I guess art and tattooing or visual creative fields.
Should I start first? I don't know.
Yeah,
where do you say like I start first and Chris? Okay, good. Okay. So for me, I started off doing art because I had trouble reading, and also I was a very shy kid when I was young. And because my dad is actually a pastor in a church, and then the only thing that could keep me in control so that I don't run around shouting and screaming and to do any silly things that will burn down the church building, it's by letting me to sit at the seat and to draw. And then my parents discovered that whenever I draw, I became really quiet. So they just gave me lots of paper, lots of pen and crayons and everything. And then I start to, doing all that stuff. And then, but then like soon, when we all get older, we have like a lot of the parental expectation. They want you to study different things, and they would kind of question about whatever you do, or whether it's a hobby or something that you want to do for a lifetime. And that's a kind of like a turning point where they said if you were able to sell your artworks and to get the money to study any sort of college or university, then you can do it. And then I was so scared. So I was preparing all my portfolio. I sent it to only one university in Singapore, which is like LaSalle College of the Arts. That's the only school I applied to, because that's the only school I want to get into. And then I got in with my portfolio, but I didn't have the money to study. And my parents wanted me to earn my own money. And then I was thinking of all the different ways, like I went to the comic shop. I did my first ever part-time at a comic store. It was very low pay. But then what happened was when I exhibited my artworks at school, that it's when one particular collector, which is actually a boss of a construction company, saw my artworks, and then they're like, "Ooh, like who created this? It's really nice." And he bought all of them, and that became my first bucket of money to study in Singapore for my art college. And then since then on, I have become fully dedicated doing art. But of course, I think similar to like, let's say Chris, must have been through a lot of ups and downs until we finally notice that whatever we do is our calling, no matter how much, how little the money we may earn. But this is truly a passion that I have, that money cannot justify how much in love I am with art. So currently that has been going well and better. Hopefully it will become better and better. So yeah, so that's why I continue to do art. And I'll pass it to Chris.
Okay.
That's amazing. Cool. Very cool. How did I get into art? How did I get into this? It all started, I think it was like a little weird small passion I had for wabori, that kind of a traditional Japanese tattooing. I think I first saw it when I was watching movies with my mother. I think when I was like maybe like 8, 9, or 10, and I remember seeing these like men on TV, like having these kind of like sleeves, hanging out, and I think that was probably the first, I don't know, the first start of me like liking this kind of wobbly stuff. And then I guess my foundation of art started from high school, I guess. I kind of suffered from learning the normal schooling. I was kind of only good at like art, design and technology, that kind of stuff. And I guess I wasn't really good with my hands, actually. I was always good with like sorry, I wasn't good with like drawing or painting. I was very good with like touching clay and that kind of stuff, and I think that's how I started to really understand art and to express in different types of ways. And then I kind of graduated from school, and then I went to Japan when I was I think I was about 19. Just as soon as I turned 19, I went to Japan, and I ended up living there for 20 years. But as soon as I got there, my whole life changed, and I was a bit more like engaging into like Japanese culture and stuff. And then one day, I think I went to this Japanese traditional artist tattoo studio. It was through my mother's friend. She was going to get her sleeve continued, and she invited me to go to watch. So that was my first time I ever saw someone tattoo someone, and it was kind of striking. And that's when I started to kind of want to kind of learn how to tattoo and that kind of stuff, and that's where the long journey started in regards to my tattooing career. I think I was about 24 when I started tattooing. I wasn't a good drawer, as I mentioned before, so I kind of struggled a lot. Yeah, so it was kind of like a bit different to like I don't know, like to everyone else. Like it was kind of like self-teaching, struggling from within, like learning how to draw, trying to get better at it, and that kind of stuff. And anyways, so that progression kind of kept on going up until now, I guess. But yeah, when I was about 24, that's when I started tattooing and started this real strong kind of direction of tattooing and sorry, like my life kind of thing. Yeah. And I guess the foundation was around then.
Okay, and then just I guess
Yeah.
one clarification question. So you specialize in wabori with like the traditional Japanese style of tattoo,
Yes.
and how
yeah.
is that different from I guess normal Western style tattoos, like technique or the instrument you use? What specifically is different?
I mean, I guess the objective is to put the ink in the skin, so it's kind of the same kind of thing, but it's got to do with like culture, I guess. The foundation, like how it started within that culture. So, Japanese wabori, we call it honimono, irezumi. There's so many ways you can call this this type of practice. I guess tools are different, mentality. I think it all comes to culture, but and there's also like deep history in regards to tattooing in Japan. It started from branding prisoners, and that turned into covering up those kind of brandings and tattooings, and yeah, so it kind of evolved a little bit, and so I guess also design wise, I guess it's kind of different from normal. We can call it tattoos, and we can call it wabori. Yeah, there's like two types kind of thing.
Okay, thanks. Just
Sorry.
for those
Yeah.
who maybe some audience members might not know the difference. If you guys have any questions or comments for each other rather than me moderating it.
Oh, I have so many questions for Chris. Yeah, but okay. So to be honest, I don't have many tattoo artist friends, but you know, I'm friends with them, and then I never really witnessed or to watch like someone get tattooed before. So it always fascinates me. And also, on one hand, because I grew up in a very different environment where, you know, in a religious setting, they usually will have a kind of a negative connotation to it. So I'm quite curious, like for Chris, you know, when you're practicing this, like does your family support you like with this idea, and also like your friends around you, as well as how is the culture like in Australia when it comes across this? Because I would assume that, for example, in Taiwan, a lot of the indigenous tribes, they would have the tattoos, especially on the face, and then that's like to honor. And then so I wonder if you have that cultural kind of sharing in Australia, and then also like in Japan, to talk about the differences of that. So I would love to learn more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a bit like it's a bit more like unique in my situation. I can imagine. Like, my family was born and raised in Japan, so we have this kind of Japan Asian orientated thinking. But for example, I was born in Australia, so um, these two cultures are very different. Um, so it's a little bit different to like hard to explain, but in regards to like did my family support me and my friends and that kind of stuff? Yes, like my father always told me that you should do what you want to do, and give it a good crack at it. You know, even if you fail, it's always good. You know, there's always meanings behind things, and And my mum was like, you should do what you want to, you should do what you love and that kind of stuff. So they've always been supportive of me. So, yeah, I guess I've lived in Japan as well, and I've lived in Australia and tattooing in both countries. And I noticed a massive difference in regards to like what people think about tattooing, how they carry it on their body. Is it fashion or is it meaning? So I find that quite interesting as well. But yeah, sorry, have I answered this question?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm just curious about, like, for example, in Australia, are there any sort of different tattoo methods or methodology that approach the body? Especially there's so many, like, I would assume, pardon, it's an assumption, like with different ethnicities and also like different cultures there.
In regards to like tattooing, there's not much culture, history in Australia. There's this indigenous culture called the Aborigines. They were living here, but the tattooing came from, I think we follow a bit of the US kind of culture, as well as a bit of the UK, and obviously a lot of Asian culture as well. So the tattooing is quite mixed, and there's no like deep, like for example, if I compare it to like tribalism or something, or like meanings behind patterns or that kind of stuff, it's almost leaning towards fashion over here. Yeah, it's quite popular. It's almost like weird not to have a tattoo over here.
I guess what percentage of Australians, I guess adults of like maybe your generation and younger, would have at least one tattoo?
I don't know, actually, that's a good question. Can imagine over maybe 50%, or I'm not sure. Like a lot of people have it. I think it's more common in Australia here than Japan. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Is there many tattoo? Probably not many tattoos in Singapore or Taiwan, I imagine, Ben.
In Singapore, it's so hard. It's like Singapore is a fine city, so they usually have a very unfortunately negative connotation. In Taiwan, I think it's quite popular. One is because the indigenous tribes, the first people on Taiwan, on the island of Taiwan, they have this tradition. And then also we were colonized by Japanese for 50 years. So like that kind of culture also came in. But also we have my city in Taichung is very known for gangsters. So there are a lot of tattoo culture in my city, especially to show the status or the symbols of like the specific groups they belong to. So my city is very popular, yeah. But in Singapore, it's very, very difficult to find people to have tattoos, yeah.
Okay, also just I guess background question just for context. So Ben, you were born in Taiwan and moved to Singapore just for college, or at one point?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Singapore, and then after a few months, then my mom was like, okay, time to go to Taiwan, because my dad was doing primarily religious work in Taiwan. So my mom kind of married over. And then during that time, Singapore was still developing. During that time, Taiwan was like considered one of the best place to be in Asia 20 years ago. Yeah, so that's where, and then I studied 18 years in Taiwan. Then I moved back to Singapore because I have to do my military service for 2 years here. And that's why I moved back. Yeah, so I did my national service 2 years here. I almost have to do my national service in Taiwan as well, but luckily I only have to do the Singapore side. Yeah.
So you have dual citizenship?
I used to. So I used to have both citizenship, which was illegal. But when I served the Singapore Army, that was the period when they said you have to make the decision to either keep Taiwan passport or the Singapore passport. So I decided to keep the Singapore side due to many reasons. And so since then, I have become a full Singaporean citizen. Yeah.
Okay, and your parents are still in
Taiwan. They're in Taiwan. So I'm here by myself, turning my own house into a studio. Whenever they visit, they're just like, "Oh my goodness, there's too much paintings and artworks everywhere." So yeah, that's that.
And then Chris, you were born in Australia, you mentioned, and then was it your mom's side that's, I guess your mom half Japanese, half Korean? Is that? And then your dad is Australian.
Yes, my mother's half Korean, half Japanese, and my father's Aussie and Japanese. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're both half.
Oh, interesting. That's So yeah, then you would still be half, but it's completely different from, I guess, technically me. But so both of your parents were raised in Japan, and then moved over to Australian?
Yes. My mother and my father were born in Japan, yeah. They moved across after they had my two sisters, and I was the only one born in Australia.
Okay.
So we're quite kind of like a Japanese family.
Interesting.
So I grew up speaking Japanese inside the house, and I spoke English outside of the house. I think that helped me become quite bilingual with my talking.
Yeah, and then you grew up speaking Mandarin, Taiwanese?
Yeah, Mandarin. Yeah, only Taiwanese and Mandarin. And then middle school is when my mom forced me to go to an international school. She was like, you have to learn how to speak English, or else you will not survive to go back to Singapore to do the military service. So that's when I started to pick up English. But the funny thing is, when I was doing my military 2 years in Singapore, we spoke in Malay. So we had to learn how to speak Malay because, okay, this is a bit political, but in case Singapore and Malaysia has some conflict, we would understand their language. So, when they give commands, we'll be able to understand their language. So that's why in Singapore, and especially in Southeast Asia, you usually have like trilingual or like 4 different languages. So now I mean, technically speaking, I have my own native tongue, which is the Taiwanese dialect. And then I have the Mandarin, then English, a little bit of Malay, a little bit of, wait, that's not really considered. So maybe, yeah, just keep it to the 4. Yeah, so like,
wow.
Yeah, so
impressive.
Southeast Asia. Yeah, and my mom, she's a Singaporean, but she speaks also like Cantonese as well, Tamil, Malay, Mandarin, and English because Malaysia had a mixture of ethnicity. So that's the interesting part about Southeast Asia.
That's interesting.
Jumping back into the language chat rather than art. Language is super interesting. So